An indie sci-fi with a realistic look at how the world would view and react to an actual abductee. Well, hell yeah, sign me up! Proximity is directed by first-time feature-length director Eric DeMussy. We follow Isaac, played by Ryan Masson, a JPL employee that one day while on a hike has a close encounter of the third kind and is abducted. He shows up a couple of days later and has no memory of the incident. But fortunately for him, he did have a video camera with him when he was abducted and gets it all on tape and puts it out there on the internet for the world to consume. And at first, all's good. Everybody supports him and is like, look, I told you aliens are real. But then, this is the internet we're dealing with, so of course things go south. And the internet trolls come out and start to lay into his ass. His video also gets news coverage and everyone starts to doubt the validity of the whole thing. He's being called a fake and a fraud left and right, and this causes him a considerable amount of stress. So he goes online and seeks out other abductees. He finds some people and connects with them, and then some weird ass shit happens. This movie started out really strong. It has some solid ass performances with some great special effects for such a small movie. And I really liked how it showed that the world can be on your side one minute and then turn on you in the next. If something like this did happen, or in some people's opinion, has happened, I feel like this is exactly how it would go down. If nothing else, this was an extremely accurate look at how the internet loves something one minute and then hates it the next. Masson does a great job as Isaac, and you're totally on board with this character. Everybody else he comes across has very solid performances as well. I was really into this movie until about the halfway mark. About halfway through the movie, Isaac gets approached by a man who says he wants to tell his story. When he goes to meet with this guy about this opportunity, things take a hard right. And the movie goes from being a believable, realistic look at this situation to just fucking bonkers. And it's at the exact middle of the movie when this happens, and it is extremely jarring. The whole tone of the movie takes a hard fucking right. It's not even a right. It just doubles back and goes the other fucking way. It's such a drastic tonal change that I was honestly thinking, due to the stress of everything that had been going on with Isaac, that we were gonna find out in the end or at some point that he was having some emotional mental break. And all this stuff that starts going on in this movie was all in his fucking head. But no, it's not. The stuff that's happening, it's actually happening in the movie. The first half of this movie is an intelligent, interesting look at a situation like this. The second half is a conventional, what you expect by the numbers B-movie sci-fi experience. And the two just don't mesh well at all. I mean, what happened? It does not seem like these are the same movie. If you were watching this movie for the first half and you walked out of the room and then came back after this big twist happens, you'd be like, who changed the fucking channel? Besides the fact that it has two of the same characters that were in the beginning of the movie, you'd be totally lost and think you were watching something totally different. Considering where this movie begins, it gets really fucking out there. But I stayed with it because I was hoping that in the end it would tie it all together and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what they were doing with it. But nope, that's not what happens. The end of the movie seems like they painted themselves into a corner, so they just took this slapdash approach ending to get themselves out of a situation. Things happen and there are bold consequences to actions, but they're all reversed and mean absolutely nothing by the end of the movie. And that was just really disappointing. I was really on board with this movie and really liking it until that halfway point. And it is right there. It's not a gradual thing. It's like within 60 seconds, everything goes from here to way the fuck over here. It's like 1 minute you're watching K-Pax with Kevin Spacey, and the next minute you're watching The Arrival with Charlie Sheen mixed with some Westworld. And not the new Westworld, the old one with Yul Brynner. While these two ideas may, or depending on who you are, may not work on their own, the two just do not mix. So why the fuck they decided to take such a hard right turn in the middle of the fucking movie, I will never know. It's not all bad though, I guess. The performances here, even in the part where things get a little batshit crazy, are all pretty damn solid. Masson, who carries the majority of the movie, does do an admirable job here of being the leading man. And the myriad of characters he comes across throughout the film, for the most part, are pretty solid. There are a few parts where some of the characters get a little bit hammy and out there, but nothing too insane. What does really shine in this movie though is its production values. The movie overall just looks really nice. It has really nice cinematography. Everything about it is just really pretty. but especially the special effects. The CGI special effects here are extremely good for such a small movie, which does make sense because the director comes from a special effects background. But either way, I'm not going to take that from the movie. It has really good special effects all around. Proximity has a lot of things going for it, but it has a lot of things going against it as well. While the tone of the first part of the movie and the second part of the movie separately may have worked, when you put them together, it just does not. And such a hard tonal change into fucking Weirdsville from where we began just really hurts the overall experience. I was really into this movie, which made it even more disappointing when that happened. However, if you are an indie sci-fi fan, there are some really solid performances and great special effects to have here. So while I can't recommend you go out of your way to seek this one out, if it shows up, at best check this one out on streaming.
Across the street.
This one just barely gets by with that rating. That hard turn halfway through and the disappointing place the story ends up going almost had me giving it a lower rating than this. But overall, I will say it's worth checking out on streaming if you're a fan of sci-fi. So there it is, guys, my review of Proximity. It's got a nice poster though, I'll give it that. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Alpha Centauri Prime.
Did you have an encounter with an extraterrestrial being?
This movie had a lot of potential, and it was following through with that until it wasn't. I was so disappointed because I was really into this movie up to that point. Shit, man, I've just been seeing a lot of subpar movies this past week or so. Maybe I'll get to see a good one here soon. What am I watching tonight? Ah, fuck.